Albinism, as we must have heard, is a non-contagious, genetically inherited disorder affecting about 1 in 20,000 men and women around the world, regardless of ethnicity and geographical location. They constantly have to deal with stares and ignorant questions, and in some cases people completely avoid them like a plague. Those with albinism have a congenital absence of melanin, which leads to a lack of pigmentation in their hair, skin, and eyes, which makes them extremely sensitive to sunlight and bright light. Most of them also have poor vision, especially in tropical countries, and are at risk of developing skin cancers if they're not protected from the sun. You'd think that people would understand this, but unfortunately, albinos often face social alienation and stigma. They're often called really hurtful terms like ghosts or white goats. This stigmatization means they can't fully participate in social and economic activities or access essential services. They even had limited freedom of movement in the past. Some people and cultures even went so far as to blame them for natural disasters like famines or droughts, thinking that albinos are cursed. Unfortunately, in certain parts of sub-Saharan Africa, people with albinism have long been and are sometimes still victims of discrimination and prejudice. Some folks still think that being white-skinned in Africa is some kind of supernatural phenomenon. Albinism and people with albinism have become the subject of numerous harmful myths that have led to widespread stereotypes and discrimination. These myths have perpetuated false beliefs, such as the contagious nature of albinism, the misconception that people with albinism are foreigners, and the notion that they are inferior and incapable of performing everyday tasks. These misguided ideas have instilled fear in many communities, making it difficult for people with albinism to be accepted and succeed in life. Their efforts to find acceptance are often met with additional challenges and frustrations. For instance, in Japan, students with albinism are sometimes required to dye their hair in order to attend school, and they may face employment rejections solely based on their appearance. In African countries, particularly damaging myths have taken deep root. Albinism is erroneously considered a supernatural phenomenon associated with evil or seen as a curse or punishment imposed by higher powers. What dangers do they face? People with albinism and their body parts are being trafficked across borders for various purposes, resulting in the emergence of black markets at national, regional, and international levels. In Kenya, people with albinism have been enticed to Tanzania under false pretenses of job opportunities, only to be attacked upon arrival. In Burundi, more than 23 people with albinism have been brutally killed and mutilated, with the intention of trafficking their bodies for rituals in Tanzania. These attacks primarily occur in rural areas, particularly in regions located near a border, facilitating trafficking operations. These ritual attacks stem from the belief that invoking supernatural forces through the use of body parts, especially those from people with albinism, will bring fortune or power. Practices like muti and juju associated the efficacy of these rituals with the inclusion of such body parts. These misguided beliefs led to acts of extreme violence, including forced mutilation, dismemberment, and sexual assault. These crimes tend to escalate during specific periods, such as near election cycles. Disturbing reports indicate that miners utilize the bones of people with albinism as protective charms or bury them at mining sites in search of gold, while fishermen weave the hair of people with albinism into their nets, believing it will enhance their catches. As we come to the end of this episode, we would love to hear your thoughts on this important topic. What are your perceptions of albinism? How do you think we can create a more inclusive and accepting society for people with albinism? Kindly let us know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.